What's going on, guys? Today I'm doing my week 4 recap of the college football season, and it was an action-packed weekend. We're going to dive into the 3 biggest games of the week, then shout out some of the best performances as well. But anyways, let's start with an absolute thriller in Ann Arbor as Michigan holds on to beat USC at home 27-24. And this was a fantastic game. First, I'm going to start off with the USC side of things. First of all, I think that USC and USC fans should feel great about the way that they fought. You know, Michigan came out and everything went their way. They were controlling the football. They were dominating the line of scrimmage. And after halftime, USC could have given up. This could have been a blowout, but they put their foot down. They started to fight. They even took the lead. And to be honest, they had every single opportunity to win this game. And quite frankly, I honestly think that they should have won this game. I do think that they were the more talented team. But with that being said, Michigan did pull it out. To me, USC losing this game came down to 3 crucial mistakes. And the first one was just the big play at the end that cannot happen. You know, what was it, a 60-yard rush? And it's not like last year where, you had Grinch and, everyone was out of position and that's happening play after play after play. No, this was a one-time thing. No, this wasn't a regular occurrence. I mean, you had a safety there, you had a corner there, and they both missed a tackle. And that's just tough if you're a Trojan fan. You cannot whiff on that play. If you just get them down there, you force them to throw the ball, then you probably come away with that win there. Instead, they're able to run the ball and do exactly what they want. And the second mistake actually was Lincoln Riley and his management in that fourth quarter. And this was probably the most frustrating one for USC fans because USC had the ball, fourth quarter, and they have a 4-point lead. They know that Michigan can't throw the ball. They can't do it. They threw for 32 yards all game, and you have the ball with I believe it was about 6 minutes left. You need to kill as much clock as you can, make Michigan burn their timeouts so that Michigan has to score with, let's say, 4 to 3 minutes. You can't just run the ball. Your job is to have Alex Orji out there and that offense force them to throw the ball and win the game. Instead, Lincoln has 2 incompletions, which stops the clock, doesn't make Michigan burn timeout, it doesn't run any time off the clock, and you gave it back to them with plenty of time to score, which they did. And that's not even the main problem. If you're Lincoln Riley, you have to make a choice there when it's second down and it's third down. You had 2 incompletions, but the more frustrating thing was it wasn't shots down the field. It wasn't shots past the sticks. It was a little flip pass that really served as a run. That play was designed to get the ball to the running back and, go down and kill some clock. So it wasn't a shot at the sticks for a first down, and it wasn't a run play. Instead, it was a screen that easily could have went wrong, which it did. In that scenario, you either have to run the ball and guarantee the clock will run, or you take a shot downfield. They didn't do either. It was an incomplete pass, and it was just a frustrating play for SC fans, and Michigan got the ball back with plenty of time. And the third and final mistake was, of course, Miller Moss throwing at the best receiver in college football. That was bad on so many levels. Miller Moss, you can't throw at Will Johnson, and Zachariah Branch, just no business to be backpedaling. That was a key mistake. USC had the ball down 4, trying to get the lead, and you just handed them 7 points. And USC could have won the game, and I think it all comes down to those 3 mistakes. As for the Michigan side of things, this was a huge win for Michigan, and I don't think it makes them national championship contenders. I don't even know if it makes them a playoff team, but they at least have their blueprint. They at least have their recipe. Orji will be their starter. The games will not be pretty, but their goal is to just run the ball, wear you down, play good defense, get good field position. And, that's their ceiling. The ceiling isn't championship like it was last year, but it's still a solid team. The defense is very good, and they're just going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. Mullins is a fantastic player. In my opinion, he's their best offensive player. And it's crazy to think about, had they been stopped in that 4th down, Michigan and Ann Arbor would kind of be in chaos. That'd be already 2 losses. But now they get the win, a ranked win at that. They got 2 more big ones in Ohio State and Oregon. They're going to try to at least split those. They have a shot at the playoffs, but they found their identity. They found their recipe. Maybe it doesn't have the highest ceiling, but they know who they are now. And I think overall, by far, just the biggest storyline in this game was that USC offensive line. It looked completely awful. They actually had to bench their left tackle. Their right guard looked awful. The right tackle that moved to left tackle looked awful. They were completely overmatched. Michigan by far has the 2 best defensive tackles in the sport, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. That was the reason they won the game. Long story short, Michigan dominates the line of scrimmage, and they take the win at home. Moving on to Tennessee and Oklahoma. I'm going to start with Tennessee. Tennessee, to me, is a championship contender. Not necessarily a big player in the SEC, or, a college football playoff contender. They are a national championship contender. They weren't impressive last year, and I just think that's because they didn't have the quarterback. Joe Milton had a lot of potential. He had a cannon for an arm, but he wasn't the quarterback that Tennessee needed. Hendon Hooker was. That's where they're very successful in that year. And this year, Nico Iamaleava, he is an absolute stud. I thought that, this was one of his weaker games so far this year, but it's his first road game. I mean, the kid's a redshirt freshman. I think we all anticipated there would be, some struggles, a turnover, which there was in his first road game in a game of this magnitude. But he is an absolute stud. But the most important thing with Tennessee for me, it's not all about him. The strength is actually the defense. It's the running game. They are a well-rounded team who has the quarterback to take them to that national championship pedigree. I mean, their defense just absolutely dominated Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's offense isn't good. I will get to that in a second. But yeah, Tennessee, they were ranked in the top 5, which I think they deserve. I do think they're one of the top 5 teams in the country. I do think they're a championship contender. They run the ball, they throw the ball, they play great defense, and I do like their schedule as well. They have 2 tough games, but if you can split those, you'll have a good shot at the playoffs, a good shot at the championship. Now, as for Oklahoma, this was a rough game. 25-15 really doesn't reflect what that game was. And what that game was is a total domination. OU's defense is very good. I got to get that out of the way. It's a hell of a defensive unit. They did a good job against a really good Tennessee offense. That is a strength of their team, and it's a legit big strength. They have a great defense. But that offense is in trouble. And I think the thing that OU fans really need to understand is it is not all about the quarterback. Now, I'm not defending Arnold. I'm not saying he's, an elite quarterback, because I thought he hasn't played well so far this year. I do think he has potential, but I haven't seen, a complete quarterback that OU needs. But I don't want OU fans to think, okay, we got our guy in Hawkins. He looked a lot better than Arnold, which I do think he did look better. But it is not the answer. It's not going to be you plug him in similar to how they plugged Williams in or Rattler. It's not that situation. It is the whole offense. The O-line is a big concern. The running game is a big concern. Obviously, the passing game is a big concern. The most important thing is the scheme is just not great. The scheme is just not great. And so I think it's easy and tempting as a OU fan to say, okay, Hawkins got in the game. He looked a lot better. The reason he looked better is because OU was in a scenario where they were forced to pass the ball. They're forced to drop back and pass the ball. So by nature of that, he just looked better than Arnold, because the RPO scheme with Arnold was not working. Tennessee was all over it. And, it being down by so much, it forced them to just drop back and pass, which he did look better. But that entire offense is going to need to improve, and they're going to need to improve fast. And honestly, I'm not seeing it this season. I have very, very big question marks for OU going forward, especially with that tough schedule. And then the last big game we're going to cover, how about the Buffs? They improved it 3-1 in an absolute thriller. I mean, that was insane, watching a dropped Hail Mary. You think, oh, what could have been? And then the very next play, a great catch, a great throw, unbelievable moment. They storm the field, and, Colorado picks up his first Big 12 win. And I think this was a big one. Obviously improved it 3-1. Obviously improved it 3-1. And I think Colorado, this kind of proved that they have a shot at the Big 12, because the Big 12 isn't very good right now. Oklahoma State got destroyed, which we'll get into in a little bit. Kansas State got destroyed. This really is up for grabs. I do think that Utah is the favorite, but Colorado has a real chance to compete. And, the reason why is because of Travis Hunter. Got to get him out the way. It seems like every recap I'm going to do, his name will be said, and it should be. He is the best player in the sport. 100 yards on offense, one of the best corners in the league. And, this is 4 straight 100-yard performances. When I talk about Colorado, I'm just going to be talking about him. And, like I said all year long, it's going to come down to, can they protect? They really didn't protect in this game. They gave up a lot of sacks, but it's also a little bit on Shedeur. Shedur's got to get the ball out quick. He holds on to the ball a long time, and I'm not saying it's completely his fault, but he's got to do a better job of getting that ball out fast. The defense has improved a little bit. It's going to come down to, can the O-line hold up? They're going to have a really tough game this week against UCF, and if they win that game, they are officially Big 12 contenders, so that's a really big game to look for. But a great job by Shedeur, a great job by Travis, and the entire Colorado team winning an absolute thriller. And now for the key performances, we're going to go really quickly. That Utah-Oklahoma State was a ranked matchup, and a hell of a win for Utah, going on the road, beating a ranked opponent and a Big 12 player with a backup quarterback. I think Utah is going to run away with the Big 12, to be honest. And, there's not much to talk about. They just played their brand of football, played great defense. And, if they had Cam Rising, I think that'll put them over the top. This would have been a blowout. But their quarterback played good enough. They got a big win. And, while I'm in the state of Utah, why not BYU, who absolutely destroyed Kansas State? This was a really, really under the radar game. And it's a huge loss for Kansas State. I mean, I think going into this week, they were probably the favorite to win the Big 12. And, how about the state of Utah, with Utah getting that big win, BYU getting that big win? I think BYU is the team to look out for the Big 12. So shout out to Utah, shout out to BYU. Next, we're going to look at that Friday night game on which Nebraska lost to Illinois. And shout out to Illinois, that was a great win for them. But Nebraska, that's a game you got to win. When talking about Nebraska, a lot of us thought, is Nebraska back? Are they going to be competing for the Big Ten? Are they going to be competing for the playoffs? And the answer now is no, because that's a game you got to win. That's a game, if you're Nebraska, you absolutely have to win that at home. You had every chance to. And, that loss is going to sting. I think the goal for Nebraska was to go into Columbus undefeated. They have now failed that. Playoff hopes are done. Big Ten hopes are done. But you got to bounce back. You got a young quarterback. The season isn't completely over, but you got to play better than that. And the last key performance of the week was one that has gone completely under the radar, and I'm going to give them their flowers, and that is Clemson. Clemson got destroyed in week 1 by Georgia, but in a lot of ways, I really do think that was misleading. I remember watching the first half of that game and thinking, man, Clemson's defense is elite. Just the eye test, their defense matched up with Georgia's defense. It looked very physical, and they kind of slowed Georgia down in that first half. And then, of course, the second half, they got blown out. And I think everyone just kind of looked at that final score and was like, haha, Dabo, haha, Clemson's done. And, I kept in the back of my mind, I thought, if their offense can, put it together and be just pretty good, be solid enough, they could win the ACC. And not only have they been solid, they have been elite. This is now back-to-back wins where they looked really good. Garrett Riley seems to have gotten it together. Cade Klubnik has played better. And all I'm going to say is just watch out for Clemson. I think everyone has kind of already written in ink Miami will win the ACC. Watch out for Clemson. That's all I'm going to say. They look very good. The defense will always be good. And with the offense playing how it is, you got to look out for that team. But anyways, that's going to do it for my Week 4 recap. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We'll have a preview and a recap for each week, as well as other special videos and breakdowns. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.